Faith is hooking yourself up to an electrical cord, believing it's not going to bring shocks when you make people unhappy. So, how you all doing? This is really kind of a strange situation, isn't it? Here we are. You're looking for somebody to come work with you in the kingdom. You don't know whether I'm that person or not, but you're checking it out. I'm looking for some place where God can use me and where I can be effective in His kingdom. Maybe that's here, maybe it isn't. We don't know that. And we're trying to get to know each other in the middle of a pandemic. And so, you're wearing masks so that I understand you're not to be trusted. I understand that. We keep social distance. We don't shake hands. We don't do those kind of things. It's kind of weird. But we trust that God is in all of this. That God is working. And so we pray for His guidance, that His will is going to be revealed, and that we're going to know what He wants. So we're in good hands. Okay. What I want to do with you this morning is I just want to share with you briefly something out of the Gospel of Matthew. It's going to give you an insight to who I am. But more than that, it's going to give you something to reflect on who you are. Because when you go through this transition that you're going through as a church, you're doing some thinking and reflecting and introspection, and you're trying to figure out, and you get this opportunity to figure out who you're going to be. These are important times for churches. I had asked to have read this text in Matthew chapter 9. And you can go ahead and turn in your Bible there. So we're going to be in Matthew chapter 9 and Matthew chapter 10. What's going on in Matthew chapter 9 is Jesus is walking around through the region of Galilee, and He's going through all these different towns, and He's seeing all the people, and He's realizing, well, He knows this, but He's seeing their brokenness. He's seeing how Satan has just had a field day with them. He describes them as sheep without a shepherd. That's kind of like a military term in Hebrew thought. It's the shepherd of an army would be a general. And imagine an army going into battle without a leader. They're going to get devastated in the battle. And Jesus sees that happening to these people that He loves. So He tells these disciples that are walking around with Him, He says, you need to start praying because these people are ready to hear about the kingdom. And you need to start praying that God will send workers out there to bring them in. So, after that, He begins to talk to them. Here's what happens. He called those disciples to Him, and He gave them authority to drive out evil spirits and to heal every disease and sickness. The names of the 12 apostles are first Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. Philip and Bartholomew. Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the zealot, and Judas Iscariot who betrayed Him. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Do not go among the Gentiles or enter any town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. And as you go, preach this message. The kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick. Raise the dead. Cleanse those who have leprosy. Cast out demons. Do not take any gold or silver or copper along with you in your belt. Take no bag or extra tunic or sandals or staff for the journey. Freely you have given. I've gotten a little mixed up here, but freely you've been given, freely received. Take no bag for the journey or extra tunic or staff or sandals, or for a worker is worth his keep. Whenever you enter a town, search for some worthy person there and stay at his house until you leave. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. If the home is worthy, let your peace rest on it. If it isn't, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not listen to your words or welcome you, shake the dust off your feet whenever you leave that home or town. I tell you the truth, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than it will be for that town. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Be on your guard against people, for they will hand you over to the local synagogues and flog you in their councils. They'll hand you over to the local councils and flog you in their synagogues. You will be brought before governors and kings to be witnesses to them. When you are arrested, do not worry about what you will say or how you will say it. You will be given what to say at that time, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will hand their parents over to be put to death. All people will hate you because of me. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you are persecuted in one place, flee to another. I tell you the truth, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. A student is not above his teacher, nor is a servant above his master. It is enough for the student to be like his teacher and the servant to be like his master. And if the head of the house had been called Beelzebub, how much more the members of the household? So do not be afraid. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What if I have whispered in your ear, or what I've told you in the dark, speak in the daylight? What I've whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who can kill the body and not the soul. But rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? And yet not one of them falls to the ground apart from the will of your Father. And even the very hairs of your head are numbered. You are worth more than sparrows. So do not be afraid. For whoever acknowledges me before people, I will also acknowledge him before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before people, I will disown him before my Father in heaven. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves his son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And anyone who does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. He who receives you receives me. And he who receives me receives the one who sent me. Anyone who receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And anyone who receives a righteous man because he is a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. And if any one of you gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones because you're one of my disciples, I tell you the truth, you will certainly not lose your reward. Now, what I just shared with you is Jesus' calling to his disciples on this first mission, his first commission to them to go out and be disciples. He sent them out to be his disciples. I just tell you a few things what strikes me about what happened there. When I look at Matthew chapter 9 and the summary of that, and Jesus looks at all the people and he sees how they are and how they're broken and devastated and being destroyed by Satan, he tells his disciples, he says, you go and pray for more, you pray for workers to come out here and get these people in the kingdom. Then he pulls 12 of those guys out and he says, you're the first answers to the prayer. Now you see up on this screen here a picture of Dayton, and you think about all the people who live in Dayton who are lost and who are being destroyed by Satan. And you have a heart for them, and you want them to be saved from that destruction. You want them to have life. You want them to enjoy the life that's in the kingdom. And one of the things that you're doing right now is you're praying that God brings you somebody to help you do that. But maybe Jesus is working with you in the same way that he's working with those disciples. And he might be saying, you pray for this worker, but understand this, you're the first answers to the prayer. You're the ones who've got to go into Dayton, into the surrounding communities, and you've got to be the one who takes this message to them. Something else I think about, and when it strikes me, is when I look at what Jesus has to say, the very first part of it is pretty exciting, something you get jazzed about, you know. If Jesus were to pull you aside and say, listen, I'm going to give you power. And you're going to have the power to cast out demons. You're going to have the power to heal any kind of sickness or disease. You're going to raise people from the dead. Who wouldn't get excited about that? And I think, man, what those disciples must have felt like, you know, the first time they touched a leper and that leper just got clean, just like that. Or the first time they raised somebody from the dead. Man, you talk about jumping up and down for joy. But most everything Jesus said after that is pretty scary. He said, if you're going to be my disciple, this is what's going to be involved. And I don't know what parts stuck in your mind when I shared that with you. But he was saying things like, you know, you're not going to be sleeping in your own bed. You're going to be relying on other people to feed you, to give you the things that you need to meet your necessities. You're going to go out on my mission. You're going to be my disciple. That's what you're going to do. You're going to have to depend on other people. And he said, if you're going to be my disciple, you're going to go out on this mission. One of the things you need to understand, there are going to be people who are going to hear you, but there are going to be a lot of people who are not going to want to hear. They're not even going to welcome you into their towns. They might want to run you out. You're going to have trouble with the law because they're going to turn you over to the law. You're going to get arrested. You're going to spend some time in jail because you're out there talking to people about the kingdom. You're even going to get beaten. Said everybody's going to hate you. And he goes on to talk about people who are going to be disciples. He says, it's going to break down. Don't think it's going to be something that's going to be kumbaya moments all the time. Because you're going to end up going to places and people are going to hate you, and you're going to go home and your family is going to hate you. Your family is going to turn against you. People you love the most are going to turn on you. And Jesus says, you're going to be my disciple. You're going to have to decide what's more important. Do you care more about your relationship with me or your relationship with these other people? Ones who have been part of your life for maybe your whole life. Friends, that's pretty scary stuff. But that's the call of being a disciple. And here you are today, and during this season that you've been in for a while, trying to figure out who you're going to be. And you have to answer the question, and nobody can answer it for you. Are you going to be a church? Or is that what you're about? Is building up a good church here? Or are you about being disciples of Jesus? Because building a good church that draws people oftentimes is not the same thing as being a disciple of Jesus. And I can tell you, if you're serious about being a disciple of Jesus, you need to listen to what Jesus is saying here in Matthew chapter 10. It's going to cost you. It does not cost much in the United States of America to be members of a church. It might cost you some money out of your wallet or your purse. It might cost you a little bit of sleep. And for many people in this country, I'm afraid that's all it costs them. Jesus invites today even people to be His disciples, to follow Him. Now, I'm not much in marketing. I don't know much about sales and marketing, but I know enough about this. If you're really trying to get followers, Jesus should have stopped after He talked about giving people power to do miracles. That would draw a crowd. But this other stuff doesn't tend to draw crowds. And if you're thinking about who you're going to be, if you're focused on building up a church and programs and doing things that people will be excited and have a fun time with, well, you can do that. And being part of the body of Christ ought to have those high moments, those good, feel-good moments, and there ought to be laughter and joy and the celebration. Those things ought to be there. But some people never get beyond that. You're talking about building the kingdom, though, instead of building the church. That's a whole different matter. And the only way to build the kingdom of Jesus is to follow Jesus and answer this call of being a disciple. And so every single one of us has to answer that question. Will I follow Jesus? If you decide that you're going to follow Jesus, I can promise you something. Satan is going to make you pay. If you're serious about following Jesus, it is going to cost you, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to come from places you do not expect. I also can promise you something else. Satan's going to make it real tempting, and it's going to be easy to rationalize, say, this is too hard. I can go over and be part of another church, and I can just all I have to do is sit in a pew, and the worst thing that has to happen is I have to listen to a preacher for a while. And it can get real tempting to go to another church where this call of discipleship is not real. Maybe talked about, but it's not lived out. And there are a lot of churches like that. You'll never run out of choices. I want to encourage you to listen to Jesus, to follow Him, and make that commitment to follow Him. He says some other things in here about the rewards, the blessings of it. See, Jesus sees all of it. He sees every price a disciple pays. And the rewards He gives are worth the price that people pay. Far more. Jesus will not disappoint. Now, I don't know how all this strikes you, but I'm far enough along in my life where I don't want to play church. I want to follow Jesus. And I wonder what would happen if there was a group of people who said we're all going to follow Jesus together. What could God do with people like that in Dayton or anywhere in this world? Because we're surrounded by a lot of people who are like those harassed sheep, are just broken and devastated. They don't know what they need, but they know they need something other than what they have. And you and I have that message. You and I know that King. Are we willing to go out and share that message and reach out to those people? I don't know what God has in store. But if you're serious, if you think about this and you really want to be a disciple of Jesus, let me offer you 3 things that are going to help you out. One is spend time in this Gospel of Matthew and listen to Him. Listen to Jesus talk about what a disciple is. If God opens the door for you and I to work together, we'll spend some time together walking through Matthew. A lot of time. Let me share with you something else. There's a book you need to read. It's called The Insanity of God. You need to read this book. It's written by a guy by the name of Nick Ripken. That's not his real name, it's his pen name. You read the book, you'll understand why it's his pen name. But you want to understand what it means to be a disciple today? Read this book. I guarantee you get it and you read it, you'll have a hard time putting it down. And you'll walk away from that book with a clear understanding of what Jesus is calling you, what He's calling you into. So that would be the second thing I would offer you if you want to be a disciple of Jesus. The third thing I would offer you is encourage you to start teaming up with one another and praying with one another and praying for each other. Because you're going to walk down this road, you're going to need that kind of bond with each other where you're praying for each other and you can feel like, I can go meet with somebody or several people, or I can get on the phone or in the Zoom meeting or whatever, and I can let people know, I'm struggling here. Satan's really pulling me this other way and it looks really good right now. Begin praying for each other and with each other. I would encourage you to team up for that. And if that's not part of your experience, if it is, it's great. You know how to do it. If it isn't, learn how to do that. It'll become a lifeline for you. And that's what I would share with you right now. May God use it in whatever way He chooses. If you have ears to hear this, may you be blessed by it. I'm assuming there's going to be an invitation song. So I'm going to step aside and we'll all sing this song. I don't know if you're going to respond in some way to to Wayne or whoever might be up here to receive you. But one of the things that you can do is, as you're singing this song, have your talk with God. Talk with Him. Who are you going to be in this whole kingdom deal? I'm done. Let's sing this song. You can stand up, please.